This is the story about the legendary adventures of a wooden puppet who wanted to be a real boy. He was naughty and made mistakes, but had a big heart and had the courage to do what is right. Let me introduce you to Pinocchio. Pinocchio marched down the dirt road. He wanted to find Geppetto. Pinocchio hoped to make Geppetto proud. The sound of crashing ocean waves distracted Pinocchio. Pinocchio saw seagulls flying away with shiny silver spoons. Local children whispered about a disaster. A pirate ship had crashed against the jagged rocks during the night. Gold and silver washed onto the beach. Pinocchio abandoned his search for Geppetto. He ran to the rocky shore to find the treasure. The beach was empty. Pinocchio saw no coins or spoons. Pinocchio saw a large mastiff dog splashing in the dark water. The dog was trapped in a dangerous whirlpool. The dog barked and sank quickly. Pinocchio ran to help the dog immediately. Pinocchio dove into the freezing ocean waves. His wooden body floated to the surface. He paddled quickly toward the whirlpool. Pinocchio grabbed the mastiff by the dog's thick leather collar. Pinocchio pulled the mastiff out of the current. Pinocchio dragged the mastiff to the sandy shore. The mastiff shook salt water from the fur. The mastiff gave Pinocchio a grateful grunt. The mastiff trotted away into the coastal bushes. Pinocchio resumed his search for pirate treasure. He spotted a dark sea cave within the tall cliffs. Pinocchio believed the gold was hidden inside. He crept into the damp cavern. The floor was covered in slippery green slime. Pinocchio lost his balance immediately. He tumbled down a steep, rocky tunnel. Pinocchio landed with a loud thud inside a smoky cavern. The cavern was not a treasure room. It was a giant, terrifying kitchen. The Green Fisherman stood in the center. The monster had dark green skin and long, wet seaweed for hair. The Green Fisherman had massive, snapping crab claws instead of hands. The monster had poor eyesight. He heard the thud and turned around. The fisherman reached out with a giant claw and scooped Pinocchio off the stone floor. The Green Fisherman examined the squirming puppet. The monster mistook Pinocchio for a rare, giant wooden crab. The Green Fisherman licked his scaly green lips. The monster decided the wooden crab would make a perfect snack. Pinocchio kicked his wooden legs. He swung his arms wildly. The monster's claw remained too strong. The Green Fisherman dumped Pinocchio headfirst into a massive wooden bowl of white flour. Pinocchio rolled in the bowl. The white flour covered his wooden body. He looked like a giant, angry, powdered donut. The Green Fisherman carried the floured puppet toward the fire. A large iron frying pan sat on the hot flames. The frying pan contained bubbling, boiling oil. The Green Fisherman tossed Pinocchio into the center of the searing pan. Pinocchio braced himself for the heat. The puppet expected to become a crispy fried snack. A miracle occurred. Pinocchio was made of enchanted wood. The boiling oil did not burn the puppet. The oil felt like a warm bath. The boiling oil gave Pinocchio's wooden skin a shiny polish. The Green Fisherman stared into the iron pan. He scratched his seaweed hair in confusion. The puppet was not cooking. Pinocchio stood up in the hot oil. He needed to escape the Green Fisherman. Pinocchio saw a giant pepper shaker on a rock shelf. Pinocchio jumped out of the frying pan. He soared through the air. Pinocchio kicked the giant pepper shaker with his wooden foot. The pepper shaker tipped over. A cloud of black pepper filled the cave. The Green Fisherman inhaled the pepper. His green face turned purple. He let out a loud sneeze. The force of the sneeze pushed the monster into a pile of fishing nets. The Green Fisherman struggled in the heavy fishing nets. Pinocchio ran toward the tunnel exit. The Green Fisherman ripped the nets apart with his sharp claws. The monster jumped and blocked the tunnel exit. Pinocchio was trapped. The Green Fisherman stepped forward. He raised his sharp claws to strike the puppet. A loud growl echoed through the cave. The mastiff burst into the room. This was the same dog Pinocchio had saved from the ocean. The mastiff leaped through the smoky air. The dog clamped his strong jaws onto the fisherman's scaly green ankle. The fisherman howled in surprise. The monster dropped his claws and hopped around on one foot. Pinocchio saw his chance. The puppet ran between the monster's green legs. Pinocchio climbed the steep tunnel. The mastiff released the monster. The dog sprinted behind Pinocchio. Pinocchio and the mastiff burst out of the dark cave. Warm sunlight hit them. They ran until they reached the main road. The mastiff barked at Pinocchio. The dog then disappeared down a dirt path. Pinocchio wiped the white flour from his wooden face. He regretted chasing imaginary treasure instead of doing his duties. Pinocchio turned his polished wooden feet toward the road. He began walking to find his father. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next quest. A like and a subscribe will help us stay connected with you. Also be a great source of encouragement for our team.